So today I'm going to show you guys how to diagnose your BMW. Mine is a F10 M5, but this really applies to any BMW. So the first thing you want to do is get some kind of diagnostic system, whether that's MHD or BM3, BMW ISTA. You can use Bimmerlink, you can use Carly. There's a few systems that you can use to diagnose your BMW, but get one of those to start. The next thing you're going to need is an OBD cable. Depending on your generation of BMW, mine needs a OBD to Ethernet cable. It's kind of plugged into this adapter here. Here's the other side of it. My adapter is a Ethernet to USB-C to fit my computer, but if your computer has an Ethernet, you don't need this adapter. I'm working with BMW ISTA, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then I'm going to tell you about the symptoms of my car. So my car, I came out to start it the other day and it died on me after I started it. It died within probably 10 seconds. Plugged into ISTA. See? And the one that I'm actually going to look at here looks like electrical fuel pump, because if you look at all these other codes, these are under voltage, deactivation of terminal. Those are all due to the battery being low. These ones down here, I'm not particularly worried about because I haven't noticed anything wrong with the car. I'm gonna look at the fuel pump one because we know that the car doesn't always start. And just a little bit of historical knowledge here. I've changed a few fuel pumps on cars, particularly BMWs. One of them was an M3. Typically when a fuel pump fails, it usually fails catastrophically and you usually can't get the car started again. That's not always true. It's possible that they can fail intermittently, where they'll spurt a little bit of fuel but not enough to stay on. However, in most cases that I've seen, the fuel pump will read open circuit and it won't pump anything at all. In this case, this car does it does start after every few cranks, but not consistently. It sounds like it runs out of fuel. So the code that we're getting here is transmitter. I'm trying to see the rest of that. I'm gonna have to flip the laptop to a laptop mode. That'll be easier. Okay, so I'm trying to get it to hover. Okay, so message status electrical fuel pump missing receiver DME transmitter EKP. Now, a lot of people out there have seen these codes on BMWs, and typically it does mean that your EKP has gone bad. However, if you look in your codes and you also see a low voltage or under voltage for your EKP, that likely means that your in-tank fuel pump is going bad too. The reason that I say that is because when your fuel pump gets old and bad, it starts to pull too much amperage. Amperage pulls down voltage and it also creates heat. So that fuel box control module or the fuel pump control module will get overheated. It'll destroy itself internally, which will in turn take out the fuel pump. But the only time that you're typically going to change the fuel pump with the EKP, sure, you can do it preventatively, but again, you don't need to do it unless you see that low voltage or under voltage for your EKP. If you're not seeing that code for under voltage on the EKP, don't change the fuel pump because you're just doing it unnecessarily. So you actually need to come in here and do this for the message missing faults. So you really need ISTA to do this. So you would go to the ABL test, the CAN FlexRay system analysis, message fault missing. It's probably not going to do anything now because I've already been through the test process, but you do need to initialize this because when the module goes down, it communicates on that line. And so if that module is down for quite a while, basically the communication system will go down and it won't work. So right now there's the following bus faults are summarized in this test module, no message. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like to go through that process, because you're basically synchronizing the FlexRay and the system is going through and checking if it can communicate with the modules. Since I swapped out the new module, it worked this last time around. So we're gonna go through it and it kind of tells you what faults you might see. So these are the faults that I ended up checking in relation to the fuel pump. So fault elimination and reporting. So we'll just say this for now because we're not actually troubleshooting the car anymore. So in the next step, an automatic evaluation of the fault memory lists the fault environment to a specific area. The ones with the highest probability are basically shown. Here's where the fuse is. So the fuse, trying to get some light in here, is that 20 amp fuse right there. That's for your fuel pump control module. And the actual module is right here. On some F10s, it's down here where the battery is at. On the F10 M5, it's over here. It might be the same for the M6 as well. I'm not sure about that. So I tested the fuse tested good, but there's no voltage reading across it. So I'm like, okay, that's odd. Like maybe I should be reading 12 volts. But not necessarily. There's not always constant power supply to the fuel pump, and it's actually pulse width modulated, so you probably won't actually read voltage off of that if you try to read anything. Yeah, so the fuel pump control module is there. Here's my old one. It doesn't look visibly damaged, but I tested a few of the pins in there, and the new one did test slightly differently on some of the pins, so I have to assume that this one is broken. And the new one that I bought has like a warranty sticker on it, which like seals it up. So I'm assuming someone opened it up, repaired it, and then sent it back out. So I'm happy with that as long as the thing works, because the new one's like 600 bucks. Yeah, so that's how I repaired my car, my F10 M5, when it wouldn't start. I checked that fuse was good, but there's no power coming across it. That noise was my GoPro turning off. And I even took the rear seat up and probed into the fuel pump active power lines. Okay, so I just showed you guys how to diagnose your BMW. So now let's start it up to actually show you that it did indeed work, replacing the fuel pump control module. So as you can see, the car stays on nice and smooth. Just yelling at me to set the time and date right now because I didn't set it. Once I disconnected the battery, so my car is working. So if you guys need help with diagnosis or anything on a fuel system or a fuel pump on your BMW, watch this video. Otherwise, watch my channel for more diagnosis and more tips on BMW, more tricks. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.